Hey, welcome back to Authorpreneurs HQ and the Authorpreneurial Summit. This is Janine Boland, and with me today I have Nikki Green. Thanks for joining us, lady.
Hello.
Anyway, Nikki is the author of Chameleon Mindset. Now, as you know, I love helping other authors. I'm an author myself, written 14 books, and just want to let you know when I find an author who has the resiliency training, as Nikki has, and has the ability to shift gears, as Nikki has on multiple occasions, and managed to start a business during the pandemic and is 3 years into it and still going strong. We want to hear what this woman is doing. So thank you for being with us today. I appreciate you.
Awesome to be back together. Miss you so much.
I know. Nikki and I have been on several networking groups together that have either folded or they changed their paradigm because they had to make that shift to go to a different direction. So Nikki and I have kind of fallen out of touch a little bit on that. But the thing that is important for us today is she and I are both community builders. And a lot of people write a book because they want to create an audience, they have a message to share, and they want to go ahead and build a community. So there's a few things that we're noticing in the communities that we're laughing about when we were in the green room, and those are the ways to make money. So most of you know you're not going to get rich selling your books. Many of you know that, but there's another tenacious model out there that people are paying ginormous monies for. And Nikki, do you mind talking to us about being that amazing paid speaker that you are, Miss Chicago? She's been all over Chicago. She speaks all over Illinois. She travels around and speaks. How's that income? You made that $1 million yet?
Yeah, not off of speaking directly. And it's such a myth. And it was so disappointing because, I left my corporate job in the middle of the pandemic, like many people, was working in Silicon Valley, making a lot of ridiculous amount of money, but it was just done. I was done. And I said, look, it's time for me to get out on my own. Again, I'd started other businesses, but doing something completely new. And, I did just like everyone, hook, line, and sinker. I bought the course, went to the classes, and they were like, you can make this much money. And just from the stage, all you got to do is just call a few people. And, well, first of all, it was a pandemic. So the stage was this. It was you and me on Zoom. And then the money dried up as well because businesses changed. So at first people tried to tell me, oh, well, it's just because of the pandemic. But we realized that there is actually a huge shift. And like you said, there's a resiliency that needs to happen. If those of us want to be in this business, you need to understand. And I actually sometimes make the shifting noise as if we had manual cars again. And you go, okay, time to get into a different gear.
It's so true, though. And one of the reasons I brought Nikki onto this summit was not only because we knew each other, but because she and I had, in the course of our 3 years of knowing one another, we have pivoted ourselves, not our business. Now, that's the thing. We didn't change our branding. We didn't change our message. None of that changed. What changed was the way we had to go about making money. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? We know the speaking thing. A lot of people talk about they make a lot of money speaking. We kind of already have to be famous. So if you're in the fame game, you need different people than Nikki and I. We're not the fame game type. Talk to us about the community. You built a beautiful community with your book.
Yeah, that was part of my dream from the beginning of the idea of the business itself. Green Chameleon Collective it was to be a collective of people coming together in community to help each other through these evolutions of our lives, whether those are professional and maybe it's a career in a corporate job, or maybe it is a business that you're trying to build, or maybe it's personal and you're just going through a lot of things yourself. That was always the idea. And as I launched Chameleon Mindset, I was just so lucky and fortunate to have so many great people help me build the Chameleon Crew, which is a super fun place for people to hang out, make friends. We will start having more in-person events and talk about those things that are tough to talk about money, about where we're struggling, because that's the real chameleon that I try to share with people. It's not about pretending like everything's all right all the time. We're not always green. Sometimes we need to flash our colors and tell people we're not okay. And here's what I need. And here's how I get help. And that's how we can help each other make those shifts.
One of the things I find funny, we hear the word authenticity a lot as businesswomen right now and after COVID, and now we have AI. And so people are seeing a lot of the fake news, fake this, fake that. And so people are screaming that they want authenticity. What is difficult is if you don't present yourself authentically to somebody, you can't expect that in return. And so that's something that I always loved the chameleon mindset for, because that's where you're talking about, look, chameleons, they when they get emotional, that's it. They're done. They're going to change their colors. They're going to let you know. There is no hiding like they are in their predatory mindset, which is not where we want people to be. So if you don't mind, give us a tip on how we can present in a community that's maybe one we don't know if we're safe in yet. And yet we do want to be authentic, so we attract the right people. Can you help us out with that?
Yeah. And when people talk about authenticity, sometimes it's like sort of this fake authenticity. It's like what I'm trying to be and trying to portray this next level thing, instead of really trying to find that current place and being very present with where we are. And that's tough. It's very tough. And it's a muscle you need to build like so many others. And so maybe you're not going to tell everybody your whole life story and all your debt problems and, your relationship issues. Like, we don't need to go all there, right? We'll save that for a glass of wine or bottle later. Right now, we're just going to start with something simple, something easy that you can say right now, hey, I'm just unhappy. I just didn't wake up on the right side of the bed. You don't have to give your whole life story. You can start with the small things and you build that muscle gradually until you're more and more comfortable and you see how people receive you. And then you can share more. So.
And that's what we're going to be talking about on the Authorpreneurial Summit. If you are working on a book, you're wondering how to build community, I just wanted to let you know, Nikki's one of those people, she built it authentically. And how did I know this? Because in one of our networking events that we were in, she got into the big room and people were like, how you doing, Nikki? She goes, it sucks right now to be a business owner. And she just kind of said what everybody was thinking. When she had a VA, it wasn't going well. She was trying to launch this amazing book. By the way, this beautiful hardcover book. It has so many wonderful tips. I recommend you get out there and get it, especially if you want to build community. And she was talking about, and it's just not working out, and things were crashing and burning around you. Everything was on fire. And by the end of it, people had people that she could call. They had tips for her on meditation. But I think the biggest one was, here's what you can do now, and I know he will help you or she will help you. And I think that was the power of the community when you're authentic and you say something like that. The other thing was, you gave me a wonderful statement, which is, this came out because of the question you had asked the room. And that was something that kind of poured out of my mouth, and I was stunned. So I don't feel it was me, but it was, when you know who you are, then you don't require the world to behave. And that is something that gives a lot of entrepreneurs comfort, because we know who we are and we stop asking the world to behave. Mm-hmm. We'd be our original chameleon. So before we go, anything you'd like to share with us before we take off for the summit that's in a couple of weeks?
No, just super excited. This is an amazing community and there are so many things to learn. And I feel like everybody should write a book. And so this really can be acceptable for, not just business owners and something to build their business, but I think for all of us to tell our stories.
Thank you so much for your time today, Nikki. Look forward to seeing you on September 15th. Talk to you guys soon.